Hero Safari, the 10-year contract story, episode 5. The cost of Swapna's reckoning, a cage falls silent, broken contract, season 2. The blaze raged, devouring the walls of the ancient mill. Fire danced over the steel machines, casting giant shadows on the destruction. Sabari and Rajan fought, fists in rage crashing against each other with every gasp. The knife fell somewhere out of sight, lost to the fire. Rajan's laughter, fractured and smeared with blood, still cut through the smoke. Do it, brother. Finish me off. You'll never be free of the curse of our lineage anyway. Sabari's palms jammed against Rajan's chest, pushing him back against the metal beam. His breathing was rough and strained, but his gaze no longer faltered. No, Rajan. I'm not your mirror. I'm not father's error. I am I. With a final lunge, Sabari hurled his brother to the floor. Rajan lurched to his knees, hacking, half blinded by the smoke. But before Sabari could jump back, a support beam above creaked and slammed down. Dust and flames erupted. When the smoke had cleared, Rajan was trapped beneath the beam, blood oozing, his laughter now stilled. His chest rising and falling weakly. Alive, but shattered. Kavya ran to Sabari, her face smeared with tears. We must leave now. Sabari spun around, prepared to lift his brother in defiance of all, but Rajan's frail hand clamped on his wrist. His eyes blazed, not with hatred this time, but with something darker, heavier. Like this. Sabari, don't squander your freedom. The contract, you signed it not for gold, not for mother, but for her. Sabari stood still. Her. Who is it you're talking about? Rajan coughed, blood streaming into his mouth. Swapna, she was not your punishment. She was your armor. You traded 10 years to save another. Someone you loved more than yourself. The roof overhead crashed down with a deafening crack. Fire roared, tearing the brothers apart. Daruva and Kavya yanked Sabari to safety just as the flames engulfed Rajan's body from view. Outside, rain lashed over them as they staggered into the night. Sabari slumped to his knees, his thoughts reeling. Rajan's last words resonated in his heart. The contract was more than a pact. It was a shield. But for whom? Swapna stood across the distance, soaked in rain, her eyes inscrutable. Sabari asked himself for the first time. Was she the reason, or was she merely the mask covering the real one? The storm subsided. But within Sabari, a more ferocious storm had just started. Rain continued to pour long after the mill fire had gone out. The air reeked of burnt metal and betrayal. Sabari sat mutely, drenched, looking into space. Rajan's last words wrapped themselves around him like shackles. She wasn't your penance. She was your armor. You sacrificed 10 years for someone else's sake. Kavya crouched beside him, placing a trembling hand on his shoulder. Sabari, are you hurt? He shook his head slowly, but his voice cracked when he spoke. All this time, I thought I knew why I signed that contract. For money. For mother's dignity. To keep Rajan away from destroying everything. But no, Rajan said, it was because of her. Someone else. Someone I protected. But who? Kavya's eyes gentled, but something flashed in them, something she covered instantly. Sabari didn't push her further. Daruva came up, his expression stern. He carried a blackened leather folder rescued from Rajan's stuff at the mill. He gave it to Sabari. This belonged to Rajan. It was burnt but recovered. Sabari opened it with shaking fingers. Inside were burnt pages, fragments of letters, and an old photograph. The picture was blurred and smoke-stained, but one face was unmistakable, Swapna. But beside her stood another woman. Younger, fragile, her eyes hauntingly familiar. Sabari's breath stopped. His hands trembled. This can't be. Kavya leaned closer. Who is she? Sabari swallowed hard. His voice dropped to a whisper. Ananya. The name left his lips like a confession. Kavya's brow furrowed. Who is Ananya? Sabari's gaze hardened, his eyes on the rain-soaked pavement. Memories crashed in, memories of smiles, of vows shared beneath starlight, of a love too risky to be real. Ananya, she was my first. My soul. And the cause, I lost a decade of my life. The wind screamed down the night, bearing on its breath the half-told truth. Kavya's lips parted in shock, and Dhruva's hold on his umbrella tightened. None of them saw Swapna standing just on the other side of the shadows. Her face is expressionless as the rain dripping from her lashes. And when she finally turned away, a faint smile curved her lips. Not sorrow, not rage, but something infinitely more deadly. The storm outside had passed. The storm inside Sabari had just begun. The day following the fire was quiet. No rain, no thunder, but heavy silence of consequence. Sabari sat in his study, the burnt picture of Swapna and Ananya on his desk before him. His fists were clenched as though crushing truth from the paper. Kavya slipped in quietly, her voice shaking. Sabari, tell me. What did she mean to you? This Ananya. He shut his eyes. The memories flooded in, snatched nights under the banyan tree, promises made in the dark, and the night it ended. She was the only person I loved freely. Prior to the contract. Prior to Swapna. But she vanished, in a single night. And Rajan's words, they seal it. She was the catalyst. Swapna drove me into the 10-year tie. To protect Ananya. To bury her existence. Kavya's eyes widened. Safe from what? Sabari was about to tell her when the sound of footsteps came from the hallway. Swapna materialized, graceful as always, sari shimmering like liquid gold, eyes cold but hard. She looked at the picture on the desk and smiled very slightly. Still holding on to ashes, Sabari. Sabari rose, anger in his eyes. Where is she, Swapna? What have you done with Ananya? Swapna's lips curved, nearly gently. You suffered for 10 years in silence, and yet you still have not learned patience. Ananya's truth is one that you are not prepared for. Sabari's fists were shaking. The contract expires today. I'm free. Swapna advanced, her eyes filled with something between triumph and grief. Free. Ah, Sabari. Freedom is not bestowed upon you. It's bought. And the cost is heavier than you realize. Her words hung suspended in the air, as toxic as poison. Before Sabari could call for more, she spun around and walked away, her anklets jingling like chains on marble. Sabari sank back into his chair, his heart warring between fury and fear. The 10 years were over. The contract was null, but the cage still bound him. And as Swapna's silhouette dwindled towards the light, one thing was certain. This was not the end. It was the start of something much uglier. Season 2 Preview. Hero Safari, the 10-year contract. The Gilded Cage, price of Swapna's freedom. Sabari thought he had emerged victorious, but Swapna's secrets go deeper than he could have ever conceived. Ananya's truth, the bargain struck in blood, and the reason for Swapna's frigid marriage uncover in bitter exposures. Is Swapna truly the jailer of Sabari's life, or is she another prisoner, paying the price for her own liberation? Love, revenge, and family ties collide in a battle where every truth uncovered carries a heavier price. Perfect life. Or perfect illusion? The answers lie ahead. Hero Safari, the 10-year contract story season 2 The Gilded Cage, price of Swapna's freedom to be continued.